Thanks everybody who showed up today. Christina Grebner from Hutchinson, Kansas. Good to have you on here. All right, so want to talk today about leading sales. We've done a ton of different leadership things. Dan has. We've done some. I love the pilot one, honestly, a couple months ago that we threw out there. I felt like it had some good lift, not a lot of drag. But we want to talk about sales, and this is an offshoot of a presentation that I did at RTO World that honestly I didn't have enough time to finish. Had some great audience participation. The presentation was about the who, the what, and the how of renting. I've fallen in love with the problem of renting more things, and that's what makes a great rent-to-own store. And I want to talk today about how our customers buy. How do our customers really buy from us? Really, it means rent, right? It's not buy, it's rent. But I use the word buy kind of synonymously, throw that in there. So, how our customers really buy from us, and as leaders, as managers, sales managers, assistant managers, regional managers, what we can do to help make sure we make that process as seamless and as effective as possible. Because as a rent to own manager, I believe you have to manage five things. I believe you have to manage that make it a great place to work, which is managing your team. That's number one. If it's not a great place to work, nobody's coming to work. You have to make it a great place to shop by managing your customer experience. You have to manage your business metrics, making sure that we're not making silly business decisions on inventory or free time or rates or anything like that. But then you have to manage sales and collections, and that's the job. There's other things that happen throughout the weeks and the months and the years, but that's the job. And I don't have, of our 42 stores, I don't have a really good one where my manager is not leading the sales process. And so what we're talking about today is the kind of the end of the sales process, the purchasing part of the sales process, and a lot that leads up to it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but things we can do to really facilitate the how of how our customers buy. So if we look at the problem and we fall in love with the problem is they don't rent enough. The problem is every rent to own store, if they rented more, it would fix a lot of things. I believe 50 is the minimum. And I know that's a weird number for a lot of rent to own companies out there, but I still believe that you open 6 days a week. But I know what 50 deliveries does to a rent to own store. So I think there has to be a target, there has to be a goal. And then the idea is to fall in love with the idea of we're going to try to rent more. The problem that we're trying to rent more, but not some random idea like I need to work the CRM, or a random idea like we need to be on Facebook more, or a random idea like we need to have this display right by the front door, or a random idea like I need my delivery guys to run some lost customers. All those ideas are great, but you can't get too stuck on one of those ideas and forget about the real problem is we got to figure out how to rent more. And you need to be curious, like crazy fanatical, Philly fanatic curious about how to rent more stuff. And so we're going to talk about that today. And as we start with the sales like funnel effectively. So if I look at the five things and the five steps, there's really six of making a sale. It starts with a first impression. It goes from a first impression to a salesperson or a sales manager engaging a customer and probing the customer to figure out exactly what they want. Then we try to match up features and benefits to that customer to see exactly if we have the product that fits those needs that we've identified by probing. Then we try to close multiple times, multiple ways, multiple techniques, multiple styles. You're not going to close them the first time. Every close is a little bit different. And if we don't close them, we have to follow up. So that's the five steps. We're going to talk about each one of those, but I'd put a step on top of that. And the step I'd put on top of that is we have to be in their consideration set. They have to even consider renting to own. Like here's the reality. The reality is there's a lot of people that won't rent to own. We are not for everybody. And if you think you are, I ask this question in my new hire orientation every 6 weeks for the last 30 years, 28 years. Who's our customer? And some people say everybody, but it's not everybody. It's not everybody. It's people that have little cash or little credit. That's our customer. Whether they make this amount or this amount, they have little cash or little credit. That's our customer. But we need to get them to consider us. And so there's lots of things we have to do. We as in every rent-to-own company in America, we as in every manager in America, we as in every store salesperson in America, to get folks to consider us. I think these are the four things. This might be the most important part of what I'm talking about today is to get people to consider us. We have to do these four things before we can even have a first impression. First impression doesn't matter if they never call, if they never come into the store. There's lots of things that happen before they even give us a shot at a first impression. So the first thing here is they will consider us if someone pulls them over the fence, right? Think about the things you've bought in the past and what made you consider to buy those things. A lot of it was a friend or a relative said, "Hey, you should try this," right? Like I have a few stories I'm going to share with you as we go on this journey today. And this is a story about Kenzie Worley, 23 years old. Most of her family rents at our Chillicothe store. She brought her friend Ember with her, who rented a mattress. She just moved here and needed a laundry set. But she came because her family rents from us, right? And so anything we can do to get families and husbands and wives and grandmas and grandpas and friends and neighbors to bring their friends to rent to own is magic. And so it should beg the question is, what's your referral program? Well, I think referral programs are hard. I think that it's hard to convince a person to stick their neck out for Countryside Rentals or Magic or Mike's TV or Ace. It's hard for them to do that. And I think the best thing we can do to get people to tell other people is have remarkable service. The definition of remarkable is to be remarked about. And so we have to find ways to continue to have the most remarkable service we can have. And whether that is, if I pulled 10 customers at random and I said, what do you love about Rent to Own, which is my company? Hat, shirt, and glasses, sponsored by King of Promotions today. If I pulled 10 customers and asked them, what do you like about Rento? And they're going to say they found the products I wanted, and they'll tell their friends about that. They're going to say they helped me. They went late and something, and we helped them. And those things I think sometimes we have a store in Cambridge, Ohio, that we do not extend or help customers very often. Like we tend to have an average budget of about 3% of our revenue we use for extensions or holds or free days in the middle, whatever, however you describe it in your company. This store doesn't do it. Now they have strong percent collected and they have strong margins, but I think it hurts their ability to attract more customers because we don't have customers going out into Guernsey County, Ohio, and saying, "Oh my God, this place is great. I was going through a hard time and they helped me." They're just not willing to do it. And I'm not saying that sales is about helping more customers, but it can be. That's part of it, a remarkable experience you can create. Other ways we can do it is when something breaks, right? If something breaks for one of your customers, it's a huge opportunity. What are you going to do when something, are you going to use an opportunity to get a customer for life, or are you going to use an opportunity to nickel and dime them, in a way where you're going to try to find something zero remaining cost from a store 100 miles away that you can swap it out and take 3 weeks to fix the problem? Like, come on. So we know this is an opportunity. The second opportunity is they saw an ad. Marketing works. Marketing worked when I bought a new truck years ago. Marketing worked when I bought a Lincoln. Car marketing, I think, works on me really well. I think other marketing, like, marketing, they market books on podcasts. I buy them all, because I think I might like them and a new book could change my life. But we need to figure out how to make our marketing work better, and it's not corporate, it's you in the store. And so making marketing work better, here's a couple examples. Aiden Brown walked in because he saw the new Viper SkyTech desktop on our Facebook page. You want to know what to put on your Facebook page? Your newest, coolest products. That's how you attract customers. I just had this conversation yesterday with 5, 6 managers at Regional on Vacation, and we're talking about, getting started on some videos because some of them just are so against doing store videos for whatever reason. They don't want to be in them or they don't know what to say. I'm like, start with your new products. Just start with the new products, because no sale happens unless somebody wants something. And I think the next two things I have on this page are they need what we have and they want what we have. Every sale starts with a product, not an offer. They have to want a new couch. They have to want a new living room suite. They have to want a new washer and dryer. They have to want a product that we have. Now we better have it. We better be able to get it pretty quick. Quick story. I learned something from one of my regional manager of the year, Cameron Kiger, about 2 months ago. Cameron said to me, we have a shortfall in our sales process because we spend a lot of time trying to find exactly what the customer wants when they put a lead in online. I said, what do you mean by that, Cameron? He goes, well, somebody put a lead in online for, let's just say, the Ashley, black, fur couch. that's selling so well. This section was brought to you by Ashley Furniture. So they put a lead in for that, for instance. And so we spend 15, 20 minutes trying to find that couch in our company before we call them back, which is silly. Because what does a customer want when they go to buy from rent to own? They want something now. That's never changed. What's never changed in rent to own in the 28 years I've been doing it full time is that customers want their product really, really fast. And so what Cameron taught this new CSR in our Greenville store was we need to get a hold of the customer first before we start sourcing the product. And he called the customer and he asked the customer, "Hey, I saw you put a lead online for Mondo chocolate. When do you think you're going to be wanting that?" And they said, "I need that in 2 days. I've got family coming to town and I've been putting this off." So the sales rep said, "Well, that's only available in another store, but I can send you pictures of what I have. And that's something we can get delivered tomorrow." We did, and we did. And so there's lots of opportunities we have to sell what we have. I cannot do a presentation without an acronym. I'm going to give you one right now. It might be the only one of the presentation. You might want to write it down. It's called SWIG. SWIG. Sell what you got. It's a great rent-to-own rule. I love to source product. I love to buy sold goods. I love to buy stuff that I already got a down payment on. Love it. But I also love to swig. I love to sell what I got because that's how I get a rental today or tomorrow, or I get my 50 this week. So teaching our teams how to sell what we have. And it's a fine line between trying to get customers exactly what they want versus getting customers what we want them to have. And there's a balance. There's a balance, and you figure that out over time. We need to make it easy for customers to get what we have. I'll give you another customer story. Aiden Carl rented it from a different store, came to the area, received a $150 check. She called and wanted a mattress. We delivered the mattress without her coming in the store. Make it easier to get. This is the first time I'll use the word friction. We create a lot of friction. Sell what is available today. All right, Lauren, that's close. SWAT, SWIG, one of the others. Sell what you got. I like yours too. But we have to figure out a way to be comfortable taking the transaction that we've made very cumbersome, and there's people rolling over right now when I say this, and making it as frictionless as possible. Does that mean we don't want to verify that who they say they are, and live where they say they live? No, we need to do that. But it also means we need to eliminate as much friction as possible. At 7:35 this morning, Steven Spencer put a lead in on my website at 7:35 this morning for an iPad, and he put money down on it. At 8:03, he sent a message via chat that says, "When am I going to get my iPad?" That happened this morning. Our customers want product fast and they want instant gratification. Don't forget it. And anything you can do to eliminate some of that friction, you are going to rent more. So let's talk about the first impressions. So we got them to consider us because friends pulled them over the fence, because we marketed a little bit better, because we have exactly what they want. Now we get a shot maybe at the first impression. What's the first impression? This is where I should ask for some chat, and we'll see what people say. Some people are going to say the parking lot. Some people are going to say, "Oh, Mark, you got it right." Exactly. When we think about it, we oftentimes think about people walking in our store, but it's not. It's rent to own near me, or it's breakfast place near me. It's any of that stuff. That's exactly what it is. And I shared the story when we were in Omaha about a breakfast place that I almost didn't go to because it was 4.3 stars. If you're 4.3 stars, I'm not renting from you. I'm not. You better figure it out. You better see where everybody else is in your market, and hopefully you have 100 or 150. Google changes a little bit when you get past 150. But the first impression is what happens when you search. The second impression is what happens when they pick your website. And the third impression is what happens when they put in a lead. And the fourth impression is when they engage with your staff. The fourth impression, not the first, is them either calling or texting or maybe them walking in. Maybe the fifth impression is them walking in. Maybe they never walk in. Now, Does that mean the store doesn't need to look perfect? That we don't have to have the perfect prom dress? No, absolutely we have to have that. Because we have it's a backdrop for our sales videos too, but also we get a chance to sell more add-on sales or step up if it's set up perfectly. But understand that that first impression we have to make, and some of you running stores don't have a ton of responsibility over that first impression. I say that you do because it has everything to do with your Facebook presence, your social media presence. I mean, if AI is going to change this, and I can't, I'm not going to get into that. But when we search 53% of the time, it returns an AI response, and where AI gets its information, gets its metadata, is different sometimes than where Google does. And so the way people search and the information they get is changing every day. Thank you, Ryan Crass, for that education. And so that first impression is important online. And you guys can make it better by Google reviews. They matter a ton, a ton, a ton, a ton. And you can make it better by the way this would be the third impression, really, by the way you respond to any type of lead. To Steven Spencer when he put in a lead at 7:30 this morning. Like, we didn't respond till 10. That's way too late, but that's when we open, you know? So it's something as companies, we have to figure out how to maybe flip our business on its head. After we've made the first impression, we try to engage them. Once we get them into this funnel, they've considered us. Now we've made a decent first impression. We can engage them. We can engage them online. We can engage them in our store. And we can engage them through their life cycle. And this is not really, I think, what you'd expect today, talking about selling new customers. But I think it's still one of the most important things to think about in this business is we get a lot of new customers, but my golly, we can lose customers so fast in this business. And my good friend Trent again said one time that we've all had 1,000 customers, just not at the same time. I'll give you stats from last month. I'll show you. Last month at Countryside Rentals and our 42 stores, we lost 3,005 customers. Holy crap, 3,005. And we gained 3,134 for a net growth of 128. That's a lot of work to grow 128 customers. Today, we do business with 40.2% of our customers. Today. Of all the customers that have done business with us in the last 36 months, in the last 3 years, we do business with 40.2% of them. And honestly, that's about as good as we've ever been at it. Because it's been in the 36, 38, maybe 37 period. It's pretty good. It sounds terrible, but it's pretty good. And so that's why I want to talk about this life cycle part I have on the spreadsheet, on the presentation. We have to be able to do a better job of selling in our customer's life cycle. We have to be able to do a better job of stopping the churn, slowing down the leaving. I had a note here somewhere. I had a customer that left one of my stores. Patrick Ogle left one of my stores. They'd paid $83,369. They were 5 days late. We picked them up and they're not a customer. What in the heck? Right? So as we try to get this 50, as we fall in love with this problem of getting more sales, we need to get more sales with our current customers. And we know in their life cycle, there's opportunities. There's opportunities once they've been gone for 5 weeks and they've had like a couple pays or a monthly check. There's opportunities once they've been gone about 13 weeks. There's opportunities right after they return if we let them know they can have it back. There's opportunities right before payout. There's opportunities right after payout, after we give them a little time. There's opportunities when they've only have one account and they don't think they're allowed to have any more. So there's so many opportunities in the life cycle. We have to figure out how to sell each one of those life cycle opportunities. The thing I learned from one of my managers just yesterday, Dawn Tharp, she was our manager of the year last year, Dawn. And she has a salesperson named Jada Poole. Jada has been with us 4 years today. And she learned that Jada does a really good job of selling folks that have just paid out. So what we decided is we need to make sure Jada is the one who calls people when they've just sold out, just paid out, and not make her be the one that calls the returns, or maybe not make her be the one that calls the at-risk people. We call it people at risk if they are more than 9 days past due or they're less than 8 weeks from payout. They're at risk. We're going to lose them. And we all know in this industry that if we wait till the moment of payout, we can't rent them. Maybe Lynn Leach can, wishing him well after his surgery. Everybody say a little prayer for my friend Lynn. Maybe they can at Ace because they have a really good program to make people feel bad about not renting from them. But the rest of us struggle with getting conversion at the payout. And so there's things we have to do in the life cycle pre-payout to get people to sell. And I know that has to be part of our sales process. So we continue the sales process. They've considered us. We've made a great first impression. And now we get to ask them some questions. They're in the store or they're on our text and we're asking questions about what they may or may not want. Understand this. You are selling against them doing nothing. You're probably not. You might be selling against, Rack or Aaron's or UHR or somebody else that's in your market, but you're usually selling against them choosing not to do anything. That's tough. Choosing to sleep on the same crappy mattress, choosing to let the dryer just run 3 or 4 cycles, choosing to, I don't really need that XY. I don't need that new computer. We're fine with the PS1. Nobody's fine with the PS1. That's a bad example. But you're selling against that oftentimes, which is hard. And trying to figure out with a customer why they would go from not making a decision to making a decision is part of what these probing questions need to be. We have to solve their problems, but understand they don't care about you. They don't care about what you're getting spiffed on. They don't care about what you just got in the store. They care about themselves. They care about their problems. They care about their goals. They care about their dreams. They do care about their bad backs. And they do care about the time they need to save. And so the more we can identify and understand the customer, the more we're going to understand how to close them. I'll give you the last 2 rentals I did. And I don't rent a lot anymore. I should rent more. Anybody wants a challenge? Anybody out there want to challenge me on rentals next week? I rented a washer and dryer and a mattress on the same day. It's not going to get us to 50 if I just rent 2 in a day. I can tell you that. The washer and dryer was this. Walk into Store X. Lady and this guy are standing there in front of a black Samsung washer and dryer, new set we just got out. It was $30 a week. Our starter's at 20. It was in the perfect display. We had it available. And I said to them, "Is that the one you want?" And they said, yeah, we think so. I said, "Well, let's get it set up on the book and get it out to you." And they said, "Well, I don't know whether we want to buy from you. We usually buy from Paige or Chris. They always give us the best deals." And I said, "Well, I'll let you buy it from Paige or Chris. That's fine, but I want to make sure we got space on the book for you tomorrow if that's the one you want." And they said, "Okay." And we walked them back to the counter. It was no longer than that. And I tell you that story because sometimes we oversell. Sometimes we overprobe. Sometimes we overfeature and benefit. They come in and they know what they want. Chances are, if I acted like I knew what I was talking about, you would believe me. 53% of the purchasing decisions are already made before they walk in. I don't know if that's the right number or not, but they are really far down in their purchasing decision before they come in the store. That we helped a really good friend of mine, Rod Peterson, get in the rent-own business a lot of years ago with a company called Leasezone. And he came to one of our stores to do some training. We were selling Dell Black, like desktop computers. Everybody remember those, like the 2300 model. And he was standing there and we were talking and the customer came up and very similar to the laundry thing I was telling you about. The customer came up and said, that computer there, can I get that one? And our sales rep was like, "Yeah, we can write that up for you." And he looked at me and goes, "Is it that easy?" And I said, sometimes it is. We overtalk it. And so understanding that as you probe your customer and as you identify your customer, you're not going to sell the same way to everybody. That's just what's not going to happen. The other sales I did that way was totally different. It was a mattress. And they ended up buying the Grant mattress, which is the mattress I sleep on. And they laid on every mattress in the store. Every one. He laid on it. Then she laid on it, and I had to watch the baby that was in the stroller for a while they both laid on it, and she finally let him choose. I was the guide, and that's really what you are. You're not the hero. You're just the guide. Try this one, try this one. Where's this one come from? What's the price on this one? What questions do you have? Then if you think about yourself as you're selling as the guide, hopefully you're the guy that's going to lead them to a great sale or a better night's sleep, but you're going to help ask a lot better probing questions. You're trying to guide them to the product that's right for them. So after we've probed, we want to match the answers that we got to the customer. We want to make sure that the product does for them what they want it to do for them. We want to rent solutions, not products. I want to rent a home entertainment solution. I don't want to rent a TV. I don't want to put TV in the back of a Chevy Cruze that they can bring back next week. I want a TV mounted on the wall like, Josh and Devin did in this picture. That's a 100-inch TV we mounted on the wall. They're not bringing that back at a much lower rate than the rest. That's going to help my 40% customer churn issue. When we do this, when we probe and get them what they want, which is in stark contrast with sell what you got, that's the gray area we always deal with. We get them what they want based on the probing questions, they have a much higher rate of keeping it. And again, sometimes we bore them with features and we bore them with some benefits. But if we ask the right questions, we can use the benefits to close it. Now, I referenced this book a few times. It's really good. You can't see it. There it is. There it is. Can you see it? No. It's called Why We Buy. It's a really good book. It's old too. Like I read this a long, long time ago. Its pages are tattered and torn. But this came from Why We Buy, why men and women, men are about features, watts, and RPMs, and women are about fashion. And as you sell men and women, we have to understand we're different than Venus and Mars. I don't know. We're from Mars, I think, right? Dan, we're from Mars, right? We're not from Venus. Yeah, exactly. But understanding who you, like, I have before sold a washer to a dude by telling him what the RPMs were when it spun out the clothes. Like this Whirlpool washing machine spins at 900 RPMs to make sure there's no water left in those clothes. How cool is that? He was like, dude, that's cool. Like a woman could care less, right? How does it take care of your clothes? Does it remove the pet hair? That type of stuff. So you identify that as you probe your customers. But again, our goal is to get through this funnel and get to the sale. There are lots of things we can do to make it easier to close. And I think this is where we get stuck in the funnel sometimes. Can we close Steven Spencer on that iPad that he put the request in for this morning? I think we can do a lot better. And I think it comes back to the friction we have in the approval process to make sure we close people faster as opposed to belaboring it and thinking we need 17 references, a pint of blood and, all their exes from Texas. We don't need all that information to determine whether we can rent to somebody, but we have to close them before they're gone. It's always fascinating to me when I shop and I leave a place, they didn't ask for my name or number and I'm just gone. And I'll look at Angie when we're out somewhere shopping and I'll be like, they didn't even ask. They don't even know who we are. They don't even care. And so that's part of the follow-up, right? If we don't ask, we're never going to be able to follow up and try to sell them again. But I think the other part we need to do better at closing is closing with the program. We have a great program that is included with every rental we do. Everybody's program is a little different, but for the most part, we're all free, 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 no, no, no. And those of us who have been doing it for a long time are really good with closing with it. And I think honing that craft as we head into Q4 for you and your staff and of being able to close with free delivery. Hey, I want to make sure that we get you on the book tomorrow for that Samsung laundry. Let's go ahead and get you typed up. That was the close, right? Let's get you on the book. Or that we can close with free service and loaner. Great way to close used product. This is used. I don't know. It's covered, 100% guaranteed. Stamp it on the box. We'll take care of it. Anything goes wrong, we take care of it. No large down payment. What do I need to do to take this out today? When do you get paid again? We make it easy. When do you get paid again? I have to get you up to your next payday. But making sure, I think we forget about those closing techniques oftentimes, and we go to penny pays, or we go to 2 months off, or we go to all this other stuff. When we close with the details of the rent-to-own transaction, we're selling the transaction again, which is a glorious transaction to help people own nice stuff. And so whether it's the free delivery or whether it's no risk or whether it's no large down payment, I would challenge you to look at the way you're using the program to close and know that there's poetry in it of being able to close better. The other way I think we can close really well is FOMO. People do it all the time. Fear of missing out. There's another acronym. There you go. But that's a common one. I didn't make that one up. So fear of missing out, right? Fear of missing out. So we'll buy a container of furniture and there's 24 sets. I have 42 stores. So if they get that in this store X, we'll probably never get it again. Like realtors, car salesmen, they do it all the time, right? I got a couple quick stories about FOMO. Brittany Beckett, 36-year-old from Cambridge, Ohio. She'd been coming in for 3 weeks and couldn't quite commit. When she came in, I told her the sectional she'd been eyeballing was now gone. Tragic. We had a second one in the back and she snatched it up because she was super disappointed that the other one was sold. There you go. Corey Blackburn, 26 years old from Amelia, Ohio, reached out because they were about to pay off, started talking about furniture, but then made a comment about the 85-inch and 100-inch TVs they saw on her Facebook page. We had several conversations over 3 days in our CRM, and he said to order the furniture but hold off on the TV. I told him it was the best deal we've had on an 85-inch TV in our company's history, and it only runs this month, and we only have one left. So he said, add it on. FOMO, right? Don't be afraid to use it. It is a classic closer, And so I think again to managers, if I'm speaking to managers here, yourself, anybody that sells in your store, that those closing techniques don't come naturally. And I think because we don't have as many people walking in the store, we don't have as many people that are great at selling to people. And I believe this. If I take a mediocre salesperson because they've not done it a lot, face to face, tried to sell something to somebody, then I put them behind a computer and try to get them to sell something, they're going to be terrible. Because it's not as easy. And so we have to remember kind of that we got to be great salespeople before we can translate that sales process into electronic sales. If we're not good at face-to-face sales, we're going to suck at electronic sales. And so honing some of that closing skills is, I think, super important, especially as we head into Q4, which is why I think this is timely. More ways to close. Have a sale. Like most of the growth we get in 2024, 5 or 6 or 8 is all going to be around sales we have. Picture I have on this slide is when we remodel a store, we do a re-grand opening. Why not? I just spent money to remodel it. This is our Maysville store. There's a third store. And we remodeled this year. We brought the tire truck and we did a big banner and we did a flyer and we did deals and we just decided to have a sale. If you're thinking about maybe having a sale, have one. If you're getting the itch, I've heard that a long time ago. If you think you want to buy a book, buy it because it could change your life. That is a good picture to add to Google, John. You're right. So have the sale, have the weekend sale, have the Black Friday sale, have the Santa Sunday sale, have the last minute pick sale, have the Grinch stole Christmas sale, like have the customer appreciation sale, have it again and have another one. And if it works, have it again and have the purge sale. Also put the good stuff on sale. I think sometimes we want to sell things at a strong price point. So we buy things we think we can sell at a strong price point. So we buy cheap stuff to sell at cheap prices. And every time we've done that, we've regretted it. So putting your best mattress on sale is fine. Putting your step up laundry on sale for your standard price is fine. Putting a 65-inch TV sale on sale for a while is fine. And so don't be afraid to put your best stuff on sale because that's what customers want. And it might be the thing that gets them off the fence. They were thinking about it. It might be the thing, especially again, like the 85-inch TV. We talk about that FOMO is when you do a great product. We did a 85-inch TV, Samsung TV for $85 a month in August. That's a crazy rate, $21.25 a week. What happens when you do that in any of your stores? The people that work there know it's a great deal. And they know it. They haven't had that deal before. So it works. It's easier to close something we believe in without question. Have a great 3-point line. I like to talk about the 3-point line a lot. I think it's a huge part of closing. It's in every retailer. I think Kroger, Dillon's, Safeway, Aldi's invented it, where you walk in and you go to pay and there's magazines and candy bars and pop and there's something for everybody when you walk out. Now you can't check out anywhere without walking through a bunch of stuff. Try to check out at Dick's Sporting Goods. Try to check out at Kohl's. Try to check out at TJ Maxx. Like you're walking like you're getting on a ride at Six Flags, right? So don't think we're not freaking retail. Your 3 point line is this. Go to your go to where you make a payment in your store and make your payment and then turn around. And that area right there is your 3 point line. And that's where all your highest volume stuff should be. Because they don't look at the crap when they walk in or walk out, because they're walking in to find you or make a payment, and they're walking out to get to their car to go pick up their kids. But after they've come in and make a payment, they breathe a sigh of relief and they turn around and there's your 3 point line. And that should be all the best stuff, not the stuff nobody wants. We make a mistake in our company sometimes to put the 90-day inventory there. I don't want it there. I want the stuff we can sell a lot of there. So make sure your 3 point line's good. There was a story about a 3 point line. Mike Craig, 57-year-old, worked for the electric company in Arnton, Ohio. That's Ironton for people that don't live there. Came in looking for a washer and dryer, and he rented our Medea set. At checkout, they saw our display around the 3 point line and added a PS5 43-inch bundle. Boom! Boom. Real story. Real man of genius. Wasn't that a great? That was a great marketing campaign. Was that Bud Light? I think it was. Dan Fisher's a real man of genius, just so everybody knows. So have a great 3 point line. The last thing I have on here is spiffs and contests. I mean, retailers do it all the time. And so identifying things like as part of some of our monthly promotions we will do, you have to rent at least 10 sets of tires to be a part of it, or you have to rent at least this to be a part of it. So don't be afraid to have some contests on products to try to drive some sales. That helps for internal drive to get the close. We want to do everything we can to build loyalty. This is about that 40%, right? We want to entangle customers every way we can. I'm entangled with Marriott Bonvoy. I'm entangled with Delta Sky Miles. You're entangled with Speedway. I'm entangled with Kroger. We're all entangled with different brands, and we don't do a very good job of this at rent to own. And I could spend a whole 40 minutes talking about this, but we have to take the time to make sure they understand what your entanglement thing, why they should be a customer of yours and not instead of somebody else's, whether it's your club program or other features that you do that other rent-to-own companies do not. I think that this could reduce future friction. I think that if we have built loyalty and we can earmark and tag those people, we have a club program in our company and it has 3 levels: gold, platinum, and diamond. And so anybody that's a diamond club member, we signify that in the VersaRent, in their name. And so when they're pulled up, we see their diamond. We don't have to mess around with them quite as much, knowing that they're diamond. And when was the last time somebody walked into one of your stores and one of your or your store and you told them, "Oh, thanks, Mr. Fisher, for being a diamond member"? Doesn't happen, does it? It's a huge opportunity in the industry. And again, as an industry, we need to collaborate and collude and try to figure out how to do a better job. Let me tell you. But anything you have in your company that can entangle your customer will get more rentals. This will get more rentals for sure. I think the last thing I have here is the funnel. Yeah. So this would be the funnel we talked about. The suspects, which are those people that haven't even considered us yet. They become prospects. They become leads, and then they could become customers. And I think one of the bigger opportunities, and this goes back to closing, is how we close those leads. Is I think people get stuck in the green. I think we can get leads. We have to always work to get them. Otherwise, we're just standing around with our teeth in our mouth waiting for customers to come in, and that is not a good strategy. But we can get leads. We just have to figure out how to follow up with them and how to follow up with them with a good cadence and good individual conversations, whether it's over the phone or whether it's via text or whether it's via email, to get them to rent from us. And I think we can get a lead and we won't do anything with it. And then they kind of go back up to suspects. They can kind of bounce around in this funnel for whatever reason. So one of the things we have to do as managers or as people who are in charge of sales is to figure out how to turn a lead into a sale. Conversion is a big part of getting 50. Now, I'm falling in love with the problem of getting 50 rentals. One of the ideas is conversion, is how do we convert the leads that we have? The last story I'll share with you is about Kaylee Wallace. Kaylee Wallace had a TV that quit working. Yes, we love it when TVs quit working, right? They were looking online. They liked the idea of the Samsung Game Hub due to their kids playing Xbox, and they could play separately. She called a store to see if we had one, and she came in and got the TV she was looking for. Here's the side note. Initial lead came in on May 7th. There were 9 solicitation attempts since May 7th. A follow-up was created in the CRM on the 30th of May. She got 2 promotional texts and Versarent that she did the lead for the TV on. And then she did the lead for the TV at 8:10 in the morning, was contacted at 10:32 that morning, and the TV was rented at 1:34. So we rented it the day she put the lead in, but there was many touch points, and this was July 31st when she rented it. We started talking to her on May 7th. May 7th is when we started talking to her. And then she ended up putting the lead in for the TV, and we sold her the TV on July 30th. So there's a lot of things that happen through this sales process to get the lead, to follow up on 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 the lead. And there's a lot of places where the leads die. Go put a lead on a website tonight and see how often they die. They just do. So that is all I got. I would tell you this: fall in love with the problem of not having enough sales. Think about this funnel. How do we get more people to consider us? How do we probe better? How can we in stores have a better first impression when somebody Googles our business? Very important. And then I think maybe the biggest thing as store folks we can do is teach our people to close. We don't have as much opportunities with people walking in, so we haven't honed that skill. And the better we can be at closing with the program, or closing, via text, or even learning how to close person to person, the more sales we're going to get in the fourth quarter. These are a couple great pictures. This was having dinner in Italy with my daughter, and all the different QR codes they had where they could go to Instagram or Facebook or Google or TripAdvisor, and obviously the Apple Store. I ooh and ah every time I walk by an Apple Store, and I think as retailers we all should do that. This is Costco. We love Costco because they sell things in jars, and that's a big TV. That's a real big TV. I think if we put TVs on a pallet, we could sell more of them at Christmas time. We've done it before. I don't know why we stopped doing it. People think it's a great deal when you do stuff like that. I think fortune favors the curious. The folks that are very curious about renting more tend to rent more. Ideas are easy. It's implementing them that's the tricky part. And then I'll leave you all with a small video that I left folks with, and when we were in Omaha, and it's really good. And it's from my daddy. And he was already diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but I asked him a question about how you rent more in stores, and he gave me this very succinct response. Hopefully you can hear it. You probably didn't hear it. Did anybody hear that?
Could not hear it. Maybe you can tell us what he said.
He said, I said, how do you rent more, Dad? He goes, the people that operate it, they either make it the good or the not good. So that's all I got. You guys have a great afternoon. Anybody have any comments? I guess we do open it up for some comments or some I'm going to stop sharing. Shh.
I'll ask a question while we're waiting for people to ask a question or comment. And maybe a whole separate topic, but I know in Omaha you mentioned about we got to figure out how to move the 90-day idle. And do you have any secret suggestions for that while you're because I know you don't want it at the 3-point line,
Yeah, I think that the average days idle of rental stores is a real problem. And I think moving 90-day idle there's a few steps. One, you have to put your hands on it. And I think that there's a lot of 90-day that can't be rented today because it's in the back room or it's in some state of disrepair. And that's probably, maybe 20% of it. I think after that, you have to be willing to price it you have to be willing to price it in a way that people will want to buy it. So it has to start at a price, then go to another price and go to another price and go to another price until it's gone. And I think sometimes we have regulations or rules that won't allow people to price stuff to a point that it needs to go. Sometimes you have to put it by itself and put the best price you can on it. Nobody will pay cash or try to pay cash for anything in a rent-to-own store that is more than about $300. So people think they can sell 90 by putting like a $9.99 cash price on there. Our customers aren't cash buyers. Other ways to use, I think, to sell 90 is to use it like condiments. By that I mean you take it and you include it with a hot dog. It's ketchup or it's mustard or it's relish and so you take this product that's got, that's not making any money, and you include it with another product to make full price on it. And I've seen it for people be very effective with that. This is included with this product. You know, like one of my stores has some 32-inch TVs for whatever reason that are very high idle, and it's free with a PS5 this week. That's fine. I make full price on my PS5 and move through that, and I free up with high 90. We are not open to buy oftentimes in companies. Either financially or just space wise, we're not open to buy. Like we don't have room to put the stuff. Thad, I missed your explanation of 3 point line. Quick recap. The 3 point line for my money is when you walk in. I can send you a couple videos if that's Thad from Ace. It's when you walk in a store, you make a payment, you turn around. It's that area right there, that range of sight, that peripheral vision, all the way around. Imagine like Steph Curry and Ray Allen and not anybody but LeBron standing around there, and those products that customers see right when they turn around after they make a payment. That's what I consider the 3 point line, and I think it's really important. What's your opinion on same as cash rentals? You mean no same as cash, Nate, where it's like 10 for 10? I think that sometimes that's a good way to liquidate some 90-day. We'll do stuff like 10 for 10 or 20 for 20, $20 a week for 20 weeks as a good way to kind of get out of something. I think you have to explore all that stuff. But, I have a store that's got $100,000 in inventory and 25,000 in 90-day. 25% of the stuff they have, nobody wants. That will impact sales. It will impact sales. Yes, John B, the slides will always be available. All right. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, hopes, and dreams?
Yeah, I was just going to add the slides are available on the Leap website through the APRO site. So if you log in, Mike will share those with Benji, and then he'll put them on there so that anyone can access them. Thanks, Mike. Awesome as
Hey,
always.
hey, do you guys know what you call the herd of cattle that went to the comedy club? Anybody? You call them the laughing stock. That's all I got.
On that note,
See you guys.
see ya.